does it mean to step into the Christ consciousness? I know now, which is it means taking total self-responsibility for every thought and feeling that you ever have at any moment of time. And it means understanding that you control it all.
Welcome to the Soulful Reminders Podcast, your go-to spot for spiritual inspiration, growth, and connection to your true self. I'm your host, Kady. Each week, I invite inspiring guests to share their unique spiritual lessons and insights, helping us all remember who we are at our core. This is more than just a podcast. It's a vibrant community where we'll explore how to unlock our full potential and embrace our essence in every aspect of our life. Life can get busy and overwhelming, but here, we focus on those soulful nudges that remind us of our incredible power. Whether you're seeking wisdom, a bit of encouragement, or simply a moment of inspiration, you're in the perfect place. Grab your favorite drink, get cozy. Let's dive into this journey together because you deserve to shine your brightest. Welcome to the Soulful Reminders Podcast. And today I'm so honored and privileged to have Amber Ontiveros here with me today. She has quite an amazing background and a near-death experience story where it had actually really quite amazing how it tied her background together. It brought everything together for her. So when I first heard her NDE story, I was so inspired and wanted to immediately reach out and interview her onto this channel for you, my listeners, so that you can too be inspired by her. So Amber, welcome so much for joining me.
Thank you so much for having me, Emily. I'm glad to be here.
Thank you. So I would love for you to share a little bit about your background and then what led up to you having the NDE and what you learned
Yeah.
from.
Yeah. So, a little bit about me for the listener. I don't normally feel compelled to go into my background, but the infinite creator does have a sense of humor. And I feel so close to spirit. I feel on the edge of tears, like often right now, because I can feel spirit so closely. It's so beautiful. So I apologize.
Don't I know that feeling? It's so beautiful.
So the creator has both a sense of humor because what I'm going to tell you is a love story and it's a comedy. And the comedic part is about me because I'm an expert in discrimination. I worked for the Bush administration and the Obama administration, and I wrote federal civil rights law, and then I actually investigated agencies of discrimination based on the regulation that I created. So I'm not anybody. So I left the administration in 2014 and started my business. And I was so unhappy. I was so sick. I have a rare disease. And I relocated back to Portland from DC. And one minute I was in bed, and the next minute I was literally floating through the ceiling. And it was so beautiful and peaceful, and it felt like an orgasm. It felt like an orgasm. And so I was in this blackness, and then on the other side of this blackness was this light that called me, and it sucked me into this light. And I was in this expansion of light. And the reason why I call the infinite creator, because it was infinite. And I knew in my being there was nothing beyond its creation. And so the word God, all of the words are not enough for the expression, but I'm just trying to take it much as high an octave as I can. Anyways, so and it's hard to describe the feeling, the sensation, or anything, but every experience that I've ever had, I know happened so that I could have this moment now. So, one of the things, again, remember who I am. I'm a discrimination expert. And one of the things that I asked was, I talked to the creator about was, why do bad things happen? And the creator helped me see why things happen. And one of the things I realized had to do with the work, which is, oh, no, I had it wrong. The very thing that I was fighting against lived in me. It lives in me. And it lives in you. It lives in the heart of every one of us. It's the carnal mind that has made us believe these four woundings. And so the experience was so profound that it literally cracked my consciousness. And after that experience, I was compelled for 7 years to study quantum mechanics. I studied consciousness, science, consciousness. I studied the neuroscience of bias, and I studied all these neuroplasticity techniques because I would read one thing and then the angels would have me read another thing and da 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 da. And essentially, what they were doing was, and I talk about this in the book, during the NDE, the Infinite Creator gave me something that I called awakening grace, but I didn't know what it was. What it was all the healing tools that I would use here, that I wouldn't remember there, that I would use here so that I could heal them, so that I could give them to you.
Use them here in the earth plane,
In the
but
earth
not in the
plane,
spiritual plane.
but not in the spirit plane, so that I could give them to all beings.
Mm.
And so here's what's happening. The first is understand what's happening to you. What's happening is there's a bias. The neuroscience calls it a self-serving bias, and it's a neuro evolutionary adaptive protective mechanism to ensure that you survive and reproduce. And what it does is the brain makes you believe that if something bad happens to you, it's as a result of an external factor. It makes you believe that. Okay, so then the second thing is the brain has a negative bias. Okay, that's the second thing. The third thing, here's the doozy. The doozy is in the back of the brain, there's a system called the reticular activation system that holds you hostage to what you believe about yourself. It's literally a program that acts like a filter for all of your sense perceptions. And so it won't let you perceive in your inputs anything other than what's in the filter. And so if you're like me, you may not be, but for me, I had experienced sexual trauma. I had been discriminated against. I'm the first person to go to college, I mean, I'm all these things. And even though those are the things, it could have been a simple thing that for which you perceived it as a big thing. And so what happens is this reticular activation system will not let you experience anything other than what you think about yourself. And in my case, the sexual trauma, etc., I loathed myself. I was mean to myself. I bullied myself. And so it's no wonder, right?
Right.
So what's happening is very quickly, it's happening so fast, you don't know what's happening is anytime that you have a negative experience, what's happening is your brain is applying that filter onto that experience from a past trauma wound. And so it's believing that same harmful experience is happening now. And so in order to change that and change your life, because essentially, what is the ascension? What is the ascension? We are going back and reliving past traumatic experiences, and we're re-experiencing them in a loving way to heal them so as to ascend from all fear. So we're going back in past, experiencing those experiences. As we go back, we experience that same fear. Then you heal that, then you continue to move up and up and up. So this type of program focuses on not only helping you understand the problem, but also then how do you heal it? So the so a couple of tools that I use is so the way it works is your belief is in your unconscious mind. It creates your thought, your emotions, and then your actions. So the way that you can help identify the belief is you start analyzing the patterns here, then trace it back to that. And then the latest science says that the body keeps the score. So in order to do this, you really have to do two things. You have to use the somatic practice to dissolve the energy that's energizing the thought, and you have to heal the thought, the way that you see yourself.
It's interesting you say this because I was literally just with a client before you, and she was telling me how she was had an opportunity to do some public speaking. And the moment she did, I said, "How did that feel to do it?" Because I knew she was passionate about what she was speaking on. She goes, "Emily, my heart was in my throat. My body was saying no, but my mind, I was like, I have to do this. I can't give up on this opportunity." And what you're talking about, the body keeping score, it's like that trauma from
It's true.
whenever, in her life of having that public speaking, trauma caused or whatever, it really did show up in her body. And it was traumatic for her as an adult
Yeah,
to go through that even again.
yeah. Well, and so the ascension is also about it's a mindset. It's stepping. What does it mean to step into the Christ consciousness? I know now, which is it means taking total self-responsibility for every thought and feeling that you ever have at any moment of time.
I love that.
And it means understanding that you control it all. And the other thing is, because you can control it all, you can give yourself little permission slips to to give yourself grace to heal. In other words, I was reading a comment and someone was like, "Oh, I had the angels create this angelic limited liability corporation that receives all energy before it comes to me, and it filters it with love, and then it sends it out." Anyways, she came up with this a permission slip to make the transition easier. So, because we're the creators of our reality, you can give yourself a permission slip. Like, I only want to work on these things between 8 and 10 o'clock at night. Or the one that I did for me recently was I only want the healing process to be in love-filled experiences. Okay, so what I mean by that is healing can be a painful, sometimes a scary process, or it can be a love-filled process where it's a positive. You're like, oh yes, I'm bad, man. I'm a bad motherfucker. And so you want that kind of experience. I want that kind of experience now because I've dealt with the pain. Now I'm ready to build myself up and like, yeah,
Yes, I love that. I've been asking my guides, like, okay, the lessons can come with ease and grace now. So I like that. A love-filled lesson, not one that is painful. The pain I've endured, as many of us as you, incredible amounts of pain in our life. And
yeah,
those lessons are learned.
yeah.
So, but compassion, and you know what? I think that also goes along the lines of what we're moving into, of like the divine feminine is moving in, and it's
Yes.
about compassion and grace and love.
Mm, yes. Well, and so I want the listeners to think about this. So why is my book a comedy? Because what I realized was after using these tools, I started calling it the four woundings as opposed to unconscious bias because it's really woundings. It's not, it's bias is not the right word. And what's happening with the man who's angry over Black Lives Matter, what's happening with you when you get mad with your child that has a messy room, what's happening with you when you feel threatened, what's happening between you and your partner is this. The man that gets angry over Black Lives Matter, he's afraid. He's afraid because his wounding is inflamed, because he fears if Black Lives Matter, he believes he doesn't matter anymore, which is based on a wound that he believes he's not worthy. And then, because it's only based on his belief that he is not enough, because is comparing himself from him to the Black lives, right? You can only do that if you're comparing.
Right.
So he's believing. So what's happening so fast is if you're worthy, I'm not worthy. If you're worthy, then that means I'm not worthy. I'm not enough, which means I have to win. That's the third wounding, because in the past he didn't have resources, because he's believing if you win, I won't.
Mm.
And it's survival. It's kicking in. And so now he's in fight or flight. And then the thing that I realized for me is when I get angry at him, I'm believing him. Because if you really think about it, the child with the messy room, your partner does something funky, the threatened, the racist, the whatever. It's a reflection of their behavior. There, there, not there, there, out the person. So if it's a reflection of their behavior, why am I believing it? Why would I be getting upset?
No. If their behavior is impacting other people in other people's lives in a bad way. So for instance, you know, with I mean, we're just in such a polarizing time right now. I really don't like to go into politics because it's so polarizing. But let's just say in the job world, majority of the CEOs out there are white men, right? And so there there are so many qualified people of different races, of different genders, that could be in the CEO position. But there's definitely, discrimination blocking them. So it impacts lives. And this is just a general, like, it can go on different levels, but I'm just as an example that came to me. So it's impacting, say, somebody that has worked really hard to get that position and they're so qualified, yet they may not have the right skin color or the right gender, and it's offered to somebody with less qualifications, and fits the bill.
Okay, so what I would say is, okay, one, if it was happening to me, okay, if it was happening to me, and it has happened to me, like in the last year, I've had to terminate a client for literal discrimination. And I've only had to do that once, but I did do it. Now, here is what I would do. I would have compassion for them, because they're they're wounded in that moment. They're making decisions from their unconscious program. They don't know what they're doing. They're asleep. Okay, they're asleep. And the other thing is, I don't need them to prove my worth. So that means, okay, the other person gets the position. Am I satisfied with my current salary that I define for me? I define me. I define my value. I define my worth. That's it. Nobody, nuh-uh.
I see exactly where you're going, and it makes great sense. I'm sorry to interrupt. Go ahead.
So I just want to say one other thing, Emily. I see the example that you just gave in two ways.
I'm seeing that.
So the discrimination is occurring. But
Mhm.
why is it occurring? It's occurring in part because we're believing our motherfucking
Wounds.
wounds.
Right.
And
Hmm.
then on my side, I may believe them to the point that I don't apply, or I don't see, I'm afraid to look how I fucked up.
Right.
I need to look at how I fucked up so that I can be the most bad
Or maybe
motherfucker.
you didn't, but you
Exactly.
can, like, okay, so for instance, as you were talking, I totally saw my own self. The last corporate job I had, I had, long story short, I won't go into all the detail. I got superseded by a gentleman that had no experience. I had far more experience than this gentleman, and he superseded me. And what I got out of what you just said was I stayed in the victim. One, I didn't see the wounding of my
Exactly.
management. I did not see the wounding of my management and
Exactly.
why they chose this guy that didn't have the skill
Exactly.
set that I had. And I stayed in the victimhood. And the reason I got that is because you just said, am I happy with the income I'm making?
Exactly.
And I could have
Exactly.
chose to say, you know what, I'm better than this,
Exactly.
and I could
Exactly.
have created the income from
Exactly.
somewhere else that would have
Exactly.
appreciated me. Thank you. That gives me so much empowerment to see life in a different way.
Yes, because that's what this is trying to do, the Christ consciousness, which is no, but by taking your power back, your emotions, by take the it's the emotions that is the energetic cut of the contract with the dark forces that you're doing.
Yes, yes, yes. And that is hard when you're in this 3D. I use the word hard tentatively, but in this 3D realm, that is the energy that thrives.
Yes.
And so it takes a lot of energy to move above it.
Yes.
In
So,
consciousness, you also said being 100% being Christ consciousness, you choose to be 100% conscious of your thoughts.
yes. So again, back to you, you're so right. The so let me fill out this example just so the listeners can see kind of how I tend to look. I tend to look at it all so broad now.
Yeah.
So like from the CEO perspective, is this CEO discriminating? Yes.
Mhm.
However, again, I have a sense of compassion for him because he's acting that way because of his own imposter syndrome, because he's afraid of assessing his own internal shadow. It's resulting in risk. It's the same wounding mirrored.
Yeah.
And so therefore I'm saying this to everyone that's listening. When a negative experience shows up, thank yourself. Thank yourself because you just gave yourself a gift to heal a wound.
Mm. Yes. Yes.
It's a wound. And the other thing I would say is don't judge yourself.
That's a big one. And having that compassion. Like if I think of myself back in that job, I wasn't necessarily, I was awakened, but I wasn't awakened at the same time. And so I took on the victim role today. And after years, it's been years, I remember thinking, gosh, that was such a blessing in disguise. I couldn't see it in that moment, but afterwards I could. But if I could go back to that younger self and just really give myself the compassion and to not judge myself or that situation and realize there's a bigger picture here and allow the healing that needed to take place.
Right. Well, and here's the thought that will comes from deep grace.
Mm.
Denying forgiveness is denying God's grace.
Mm. How do you work with your clients that need to forgive themselves on deep, deep levels? Do you have any tools?
Yeah. I mean, okay, so there's a specific compassion meditation that I do. Um, there's so many different techniques. It all has to be love. And so if I was working with a client that had an autoimmune disease, so I have an autoimmune disease that I'm almost healed from.
Mhm.
So the way that you heal autoimmunity or the way that you heal anything is different than what we think it is, which is you first accept it. In other words, you accept that you want it, and then you do it until usually you'll know when it's neutralized. And then what you do is you send yourself tender love in pain. And it is so comforting. It's the exact opposite. So like if you think about it, everything in the Bible is like return light from dark, right? Cast the light on the shadow. But it's in some ways, some of these techniques are so simple. And love and over and over and over. And I focus on my heart. I'm sending you tender love, the tenderest of love.
Love. I want to explore that a little bit with you because when you started out, you were on the verge of tears because you were connecting to that infinite, unconditional love that those of us who have ever had an NDE have experienced. And I don't believe you have to have an NDE to experience it. You had it just in that moment. I've had it when I've done work with my clients. Can you share a little bit about that love and how powerful it is? If you can come up with words, I don't know if I can.
I will try to describe it. And I've had the experience recently with higher self. Okay, this is how it feels for me. This is weird, I will acknowledge. It feels it feels like peace, but it's not. It feels this is the divine part of it that it feels like a kind of stillness that is so still, it's mystical. And then the other thing is it has a qualia to it because of the mystical like experience. So if you notice the lights are going off in my room, it's the angels. So it has a weird mystical feeling to it, which is I can't even describe it. It feels like time is stopping or something.
Yeah, time doesn't even exist.
Yeah, so love feels like that, but it feels like an orgasm. But a love orgasm? I don't know. I can't describe it. I'm sorry, I
Yeah,
can't.
no, it's okay. I was just curious. For me, that experience of that love is, there is no judgments.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah.
There's no discrimination.
Mm,
I have done readings for some people and being human, having preconceived judgments.
mm,
And then I go into that infinite love and I do a reading and I absolutely adore that person.
right.
It's the most incredible thing to experience. And I do believe, and this is what I believe you were going to say, is you heal through this love because you were saying you share this love through your heart chakra when you're
Yeah.
working with your clients.
Yeah.
It's transformative.
Right. Right. Yeah. And through these techniques, specifically focusing on the heart, it's a heart coherence, scientific backed technology. So that enables you to bring alignment between the mind and the heart. So by focusing on the heart, breathing in and out of the heart, it then brings alignment between the mind and the heart. And then that regulates your nervous system.
And the heart, because I've had a little quantum training as well, and you can go into this a little bit more detail than me, I'm sure. But our hearts have more brain cells than our minds. So when you can bring that regulation between the heart and the brain and the coherence, then that is the key to being able to touch into or tap into your intuition and to
Mhm.
be led um, by, I don't even know what the word is, but just not being led astray that our mind does because of what you talked about of our brain and how it's constructed,
Right,
but allowing the heart to lead us with pure grace.
right, right. Yeah. And I've been really working on that, which is trusting. And so one thing that y'all can do is asking for God confidence experiences. So here's the way that I manifest. So I say, I am my I am presence. I am one with my Father, Mother, God. I am commanding a love-filled God experience now. I command it, so be it, so it is done. Or and I may add like on it, like as part of my healing journey or something like that. But here's the thing, we think we have to say all this stuff, and it's like as though the God that's in our heart doesn't know what's in our heart. It's like
I
we
think there needs to be some intention though
yeah,
behind it. And that's why there's the ritual or the
yes.
discipline of saying that. Yes.
Yeah. Yeah. So that like try that.
Do you think it's like training our brain too to accept it?
It's honestly it's remembering.
Hmm.
So the biggest challenge of the whole ascension is not doing the things or figuring that out. It's constantly waking up because every time you're having a negative experience, or like even sometimes when it's a positive experience, if it's like a sneaky positive experience, that's like a program,
Right.
right? In which case we're living our lives a program a lot of the time. So we're asleep. So we have to wake up, and then we have to do the whole thing of healing that moment because we probably did something where some karmic thing. We got to heal it, and then we got to move on to the next one.
Can you go into that a little bit more for the audience? Because what you just said is so powerful, and for that realization, and for I think for the audience that are awakening right now to understand that this programming is there and it's keeping us asleep. Can you explain that a little bit more and these awakening moments?
Yes. Okay. All right. So here's what's happening. I want you to think about, what are you experiencing right now in your life? Are you experiencing a pattern of a thought play loop, or a negative emotion with someone else. Or it could even be with just by yourself. Like for some reason, you watch something resulted in a feeling within you that's not a pleasant one, that you're not liking the experience, and there's some thought. Whatever that is a program. And it's there because at one point in the past, you agreed to that thought. You let it in and you agreed to it. So now it's replaying because it's time for you to heal it and let it go. Okay. So like a friend of mine
It's
has been
replaying and you're aware that it's
in
replaying.
your awareness.
So if you're not aware of it, you're in that sleep mode.
If you're not aware that you're in the sleep mode, step back and just, okay, if you're feeling a negative feeling, if you're feeling the negative feeling, notice the negative feeling, and then try and pull your awareness back, focus on your breath, try and get calm, and ask yourself these two questions. This is a technique I teach called mindful listening. The first question is, what is the feeling you're feeling? The second question is, what do you have to believe about yourself to feel that feeling? Okay. All right. So I will give a simple example. Makes it easiest. You go into your daughter's room and the room is messy. And the feeling that you feel is anger. And the thought that you think is how she's totally disrespecting me and blah, blah, blah. Okay. Okay. The thought is the disrespecting. That's not the belief, right? The belief creates the thought that creates the emotion. Okay. The thought is about, again, the self-serving bias makes you think it's out here.
It's not.
Okay.
Mm-hmm.
You messy room.
Yeah. Judging
Okay.
your daughter. Mm-hmm.
So projecting fear.
Mm-hmm.
So what it's really about is some kind of unworthiness that her behavior somehow reflects on your worthiness. And it doesn't.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
It doesn't.
Yeah.
And then there's probably some other fear, or I mean, there's probably a bunch of unworthiness fear, like, why can't I get the child to clean their room? Am I a bad mother? Blah, 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 blah. When in reality, your child is experiencing their own wounding. That's why they're in a messy room. In which case, they more or less they need compassion so as to
Right.
get out of their whatever their state is that's
Right.
resulting in the messy room.
I love that example. So I'm not a parent. I'm a dog parent. Right now, I only have one foster dog, and she came into my life with a lot of wounding. She's an older lady, and there's lots of wounds and trauma. And what you're talking about, like her and I have been going back and forth on. And I'm like, when she first came in, she would do stuff, and I'd be like, this dog is making me crazy. What is wrong with her? And then Spirit said, she's here to teach you a lesson. Step back. And so I had to step back and I observed rather than put my own emotion in it. And I went, okay, her wounds are my wounds. She's mirroring to me what I need to heal.
Exactly.
And by me healing, I can help heal her.
Right.
And
Exactly.
so the same situation with a mother and a daughter, or a father and daughter, or whatever.
Exactly.
And to take that step back, and I really, those times that should make me crazy, I'd have to go, she has some serious trauma that I need to help out here.
Yeah.
And what is it in me? What were
Yep.
those two questions again?
Okay. The two questions are, what is the feeling that I'm feeling? What am I feeling?
Okay, yep. I would ask myself that question. Spirit guided me to that.
And
Mm-hmm.
then the second question is, what is the belief that I would have to have, or what is the belief someone would have to have in order to feel this feeling about themselves? So
Okay.
you're trying to step back and
Right.
look at it objectively and
Right.
say, okay, if somebody had that feeling, what would they have to think about themselves? And you kind of step back and you look at it.
Right.
And when you look at it, then you're like, oh, dude, man, I'm thinking I'm unworthy. But here's the thing. You should really be like, "Fuck, yes, I'm thinking I'm unworthy. Now I can heal it. Yeah. Because
Right.
because here's the thing. Again,
I love it.
you're coming
Yes.
back to the RAS filter, which means every moment think of it as a positive, because then you're changing the negative bias to a
Yeah.
positive one. And
Yeah.
then the brain becomes positively biased.
Right. The neuroplasticity. You can create new waves.
Exactly.
It's this morning. I had a situation and I hope you don't mind me sharing. I just think that you're like triggering all these thoughts. This morning I'm
Good.
walking and my partner, he corrected me on a word I said wrong. Well, I had learning disabilities my whole life and I had brain damage as an early child. And so I don't hear correctly and I sometimes say wrong words. And usually if he corrects me, I'm like, thank you, because I'm not aware of it. And I'm usually grateful. But this morning it triggered something in me. And I had to go through exactly what you're talking about. When I went and I was like, I started to go down this pity party path of one, how dare him? He is so brilliant. He's so smart. He speaks eloquently. He just like he can say things effortlessly. For me, it's like it takes work to speak.
Right. Right.
And
Right.
then I start going in, why do I even think I can have a YouTube channel? Why do I think I can interview? I start going down this negative path and I catch myself and I said, nope, that I am grateful that this was exposed to me. So now I can heal it
Yep.
because it needs to be healed. And
Yes.
who cares if I can't say things right? This is an enduring part of who I am.
Right.
And I just had to like really reframe myself, but I was so
Perfect,
quick to
Emily.
go back into my old patterns of being
Exactly.
that victim.
But okay, so honey, praise yourself, baby.
Oh yeah, no, I am. Yes, that's that love you're talking about.
It's love. Every time
Ah.
every time you have a failure, tell yourself, yes, I made a mistake. Now I get to be the rock star that I am because I had to do that in order to be here.
Right.
Yay.
I love that. I love that so much. That's so beautiful.
Yeah. And I mean, the other thing is, oh, here's another thing that I do. When I catch myself and then I reward myself by telling myself I'm so awesome, I usually say, thank you, infinite loving universe. Can I please have more?
Mm.
Because that then helps you have more conscious experiences of awakening.
So you're actually asking for more like triggers so that
Yes.
you can okay heal from them. Got it. Okay. I love
Yeah.
that.
I
Okay.
actually every single day I asked for more experiences to heal from, to be triggered.
In your willingness to face triggers on a regular basis, I'm sure your whole nervous system is totally in alignment. But are there times when it gets a little misfired? And if it does, what do you do in those moments? Do you just allow yourself to ride that emotion through so that you can reset or
Wow, that's a really good question. So, no, my nervous system is not in alignment. I'm actually healing my entire nervous system from the I have dysautonomia, which is basically a dysregulation of the autonomic nervous system. And so the being of light that's working with me is literally shining light into my head to help me heal my nervous system. Um, so I've used a variety of things to help with the nervous system, everything from different things to activate the vagus nerve to I probably meditate, I don't know, probably 3 hours a day more.
wow.
Sometimes on the weekend I might meditate for 4 hours, sometimes the whole day if my nervous system is jacked. But that's just me. That's just me. Um, but everybody can ask the angels for help. And sometimes it's just too much. And I surrender and I have the angels come in and take care of it. And I surrender to my I am presence and then I just let go because sometimes it's that much pain. But I can usually get through.
Relying on the angels is what has gotten me to where I am today.
Yeah.
100%. And even when I first started to work with my guides and angels, I mean, I've always been intuitive and I could always see and hear spirits, but sometimes I can't. But I know they're there and I don't question it.
Right.
And trusting that they are there and they're guiding us.
Yeah.
The key is regulating our nervous system and doing that coherence, brain heart
Right.
connection to
Right.
really help us.
Yeah.
That's excellent advice. Thank you. Do you have any advice for a listener out there? Like, let's say there's a listener that is in a situation that their life is just running a pattern that is going out of control and they know they need to get out of it, but they're scared to death. Do you have any advice or message for this person and who may be listening to this that can use some insight in this moment?
Yeah. Um, okay. I guess I would say the first thing is I know this may be hard to believe, but you're never alone. There are literally probably, I don't know, 10 angels around you right now. And what you need to do in this moment is to go within and find whatever enables you to feel good in this moment. And all you're trying to do is to change your harmonic an octave and stay there. And then change your harmonic an octave and stay there. So go from fear to hope. Hope. I am hoping it all works out. Can you feel that? That is it's a grace. It's a harmonic of grace, just an octave above. And then you stay there, and then you can move to I believe. That's just another octave. Okay, so that's second thing. Third thing, if you're feeling a negative feeling, I would automatically focus your awareness on the location in the body, wherever it's at. Keep your awareness there and feel the feeling in the body. Okay, that's the third thing you can do. The fourth thing that you can do is by sitting in just meditation on the breath. You can ask yourself this question. This is the question I asked myself, which is, what is the gift in this pain for me right now?
That's a powerful question.
And I promise you, when you sit and not be afraid of the answer will be love.
Mm.
Because what you're seeing in that moment, because this is the healing, is in that moment, even though you have all these fears that are future, they're all being perceived from right now. Now, if you can change the now, change the future, because everything is perceived through you, through now.
Mm. I want to just share just the little example of what I had talked about my trigger this morning. And in that now, I could have chose to go back to my old patterns of being that victim and all the hard work and the people that I've touched, and in my efforts on my YouTube channel would have come to a screeching halt if if I continued down the victim path and I didn't choose to celebrate, oh, this is a trigger, this is a wound
Yes,
I need to heal.
yes, yes,
And because I chose love for myself and saw compassion for myself, I'm going to continue down this path.
yes,
And there's another force that's element there because I've just healed something.
yes.
That's an amazing example of what you said, or the layout of the steps of what to
Yeah,
do. I
yeah.
can see it with what I did.
And the fourth step is the step that you just did, which is that's the mindset change, right?
Ah,
So through the sitting in the moment, seeing it, you then through that being awareness of it, you then can see through that perception, you're changing the neural pathways because you're seeing, oh my God, fucking, I got all this great shit going down.
right.
Like I'm like, look at I'm so badass. Look at what I'm doing. Thinking I'm like really over here, man. And you're like, what was that? And my best friend is a therapist, and so we were working on. I was helping her work through something, and I want the listeners to apply it to themselves. So she knows this and she was like, I'm trying to see what's below this. So this person is that she's interacting with is informing her that she doesn't believe that spiritual work should be you should be compensated for spiritual work, etc. And so my friend is not agreeing with that. And so she felt disrespected by the other person. And the question I asked was, show me disrespect on you, the body. It's a nonsensical question because you're like, what do you mean disrespect on me? Their behavior shows up as disrespect on me. We think it shows up as disrespect on me, but there's no disrespect on me. It's in me that is resulting in the disrespect in me.
Right. Exactly. She agreed with it.
Exactly.
She agreed with it that person was being disrespectful and to her, and she was being disrespectful to herself in that sense.
Yeah.
Thank you for this. This has been an amazing conversation. I've really enjoyed it. Um, Amber, can you share a little bit about your work and how you help people? I know, and you have your book too.
Yeah. So I own my own business and I have an executive coaching program that literally is this. It includes a workbook, also the book. Um, and so I teach individuals all of these tools, but I also use it in the other work that I do, which is we do policy development and we work on big mega projects, construction projects. So on that work, I also bring these tools to that work too. So for example, in the facilitation work I do breath work. And so if anybody ever needs anybody that does stuff like that, I also bring the Heal the Four Woundings components to all of
So
the work.
if I understand correctly, you will do this in one-on-one as well as you'll bring it into like a corporate setting or
Yep,
a workplace if
yep,
they need to bring some more
yep, yep,
cohesiveness into their work
yeah.
environment. Okay.
Yep.
And so who is your ideal customer or client?
Honestly, my ideal client is anybody with significant trauma.
Mm-hmm. So you don't have to be in the corporate setting or anything
No,
like that.
not
So
at all. No, not at
you could
all.
just be somebody that's wanting to
Yeah.
work
And
through.
honestly, I would love to work with people that want to do this. So my book is the workbook is it is an executive coaching book in that it's going to help you become amazing, right? But I don't care if you're a janitor, you should think of yourself as an executive.
I
You
love.
want to be the best version of whatever it is that you are. If
Mhm.
you're a student, you should think of yourself as an executive. I am an executive of my corporation, and this is what I'm going to do, and this is what my goals are, and da 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 da. So my interest is to help people like me who have had trauma.
Mm, I love that. I really love that because the word executive to me, looking through some of your material and whatnot, I was like, oh, I thought you were more for like corporate setting. And so, but now that you explain that we all are, we are our own executives, which we 100% are.
Yeah. Well, and really, I'm trying to help you become the CEO of Christ Incorporated.
Mm, yes, we really do need that.
Yeah.
Yeah. Thank you. So how can people get a hold of you if somebody wants to reach out and or start working with you or connect with you?
They can go to my website, healthefourwoundings.com, or they can email me at amber@aoassociates.biz.
Okay, great. I will drop those links below as well. Are you on any social media at all or
Yeah.
not?
I'm on LinkedIn,
Okay.
Facebook. Yep.
Okay, so we'll make sure all the links are below so people can connect with you.
Cool. Cool.
Awesome. And any closing or parting words that you may have?
Um, just I guess the big thing I would say for the listeners is the key really is love. It's love in everything. It's like love. So deep.
I could keep going on about love. I
Yeah.
really could. The world needs love right now and it needs
Yeah.
compassion. And the only way that we can get that in the world is if we love ourselves first.
Exactly.
Well, thank you so much, Amber. I really enjoyed this conversation. It's so enlightening and it's just amazing to hear these incredible and powerful tools that can absolutely transform our lives. So thank you for your openness and willingness to share some of them with us today.
Yeah. Thank you. Thank you for having me.
Absolutely. And to our listeners, thank you so much for joining Amber and I today. And I hope that this conversation was as enlightening to you as it was for me, and that you may continue to shine your light bright. Thank you so much for tuning into this episode of Soulful Reminders Podcast. I hope you're feeling inspired and empowered by the incredible insights we shared today. Remember, every story and lesson we explore is a beautiful reminder of the immense potential that resides within you. As you continue on your journey, take these soulful nudges with you. Embrace your true essence and actively work towards unlocking your full potential in every area of your life. If this episode resonated with you, I would love for you to subscribe to my channel and give this video a thumbs up. And don't keep this goodness to yourself. Share it with others who could use this little reminder too. Until next time, keep shining your light. Remember, you're not alone in this journey. Together, we can uplift and inspire one another to live fully and authentically. You got this.